So I made this article on Reddit. I was talking about this, that 90% never finish a game. I said 90. And then basically all the comments were like, oh, that's actually too high. I think more like 99% never finish the first game. Like everyone agreed that basically 99% of beginners never release the first game. Even 90% is way too high. So why is that? That 99% of the people that start game development, they aren't even game developers. They never release a single game. Whilst there are some people that can make a game in like 30 minutes. What actually separates these? Like we have these people, including you, that think game development is so hard, while people, they make games in like 30 minutes. They can make an entire game in 30 minutes. You've probably seen the video from Danny, for example. He even made that game in 30 minutes. He spent a little bit more on like polishing and things before I released, but it was basically in 1 or 2 days, I think. And I actually even downloaded the game when I was younger. I remember playing it for like a long time, and I actually really enjoyed the game. It was a fun game, and it was made in 2 days. Even no assets. He didn't even have AI. This was like 5 years ago. He didn't have AI, and he didn't like download any art, didn't download any code. He didn't do anything. He just made the game in basically 2 days, and the core mechanic was made in literally 30 minutes. And the thing with the difficulty of releasing a game is that your first one is going to be the hardest one. Everything after that is going to be exponentially easier. So just to give you a personal example, my first game, it was called Neon Surge. I made that game in 5 months. 5 months. Could have done it with less time if I planned effectively. We'll talk about that later. 5 months. My second game, it was made in under 2 months. And my third game, it was made in under 30 days. So once you just release one game, you just crack the code, then every game after that is going to be exponentially easier. And also I didn't have the information and the step-by-step blueprint when I made my first game, so I didn't know like the next step, what I was going to do. I made a ton of mistakes, and that's exactly why I made Smartini. So inside of Smartini, I promised that you go from having no coding experience at all, or you're stuck in tutorials, to finishing and releasing your first game in 60 days, because I know it's possible when you just have this step-by-step plan and you know what you're going to do. So I've had this like mystery throughout the video because I just wanted to clarify a few things. But let's talk about the one thing that actually separates the 99% of beginners that never actually finish a game to the 1% that can actually make games quite easily. This is going to be the thing that separates the beginners that never release a single game, even after years of trying, to the ones that can make like a full game and release it on the App Store in less than a month. And that one thing is going to be that they know how to learn. They know how to learn game development the right way. And what's the right way to learn, you might ask? Well, whether they know it or not, every single game developer that has actually made real progress, they internally know that they learn by doing. That's how they got their knowledge. For me, for example, I spent years stuck just watching these tutorials, watching these full project tutorials, like following along for hours and hours on end. But when I went into the game engine myself, I couldn't build a single thing. I couldn't do anything. But once I actually just restricted information, I struggled a bit with the thing I tried to build myself. That's actually when I made real progress, and that's when I finally had the skill to actually make my first real game and publish it. And this all comes down to the two types of learning that we have. We have both passive learning and we have active learning. Tutorials and using AI, using Google, or relying on these external resources. That's going to be what we call passive learning. But to actually learn and to actually release games, what we're going to do is that we need to do active learning. We need to build things ourselves. We need to actually learn by doing. That's what active learning is, learn by doing. And to actually apply active learning into game development the most effective way, I've made the framework that I called the Struggle, Build, Repeat framework. So let's walk through all the 3 steps of the Struggle, Build, Repeat framework so that you can actually apply it and start learning the right way today. This is what's going to put you in the top 1% of game developers that actually finish and release the first game. It wasn't before I actually applied this framework that I actually made real progress. So listen. The struggle here is going to mean that you're going to restrict your information. And that's basically that when you encounter a problem in game development in your early stages, when you are just learning the fundamentals, obviously you're not going to do this forever, but when you're just learning the fundamentals, what you're going to do is that you're not immediately just going to search for a solution on Google. You're not going to immediately search for a tutorial, ask AI when you encounter a problem. What you're going to do is instead you're going to embrace the problem. Like embrace that you have a problem, embrace that you doesn't know how to fix this one thing, the thing that you're trying to implement or fix. You don't know the solution to it. You should embrace that, and you should struggle with the thing, even though it's going to feel very hard. It's not going to feel as fun. You're not going to get that much dopamine or like reward in your brain because it's going to take much longer. It's going to feel hard, and you're just going to want to search for the solution. I'm telling you, this is the only way you're actually going to learn. You are only going to learn when you struggle with the thing. and you have what we call a desirable difficulty, where you always try to do something that's just above what you think you can do. Something that's going to be a little hard for you, but it's not going to be impossible. Then after you struggle with the thing, preferably you're going to actually guess your way through, actually struggle your way through, finding the solution yourself. But in a lot of cases also, you aren't going to be able to do it. But that's not the thing, that's not what this is about, that you should always do everything yourself. It's just that we need to struggle, we need to experiment, and we need to like actively think before we search for a solution. That's basically the whole point of the struggle. It's not that we always should be able to do the thing that we struggle with. So maybe like 50% of the time you're going to do something that you didn't figure out how to do. And for that, then you're going to get the new information. You're going to use Google, no tutorials, no AI. You're going to use Google because that's going to be still the struggle thing. So it's still going to be hard for you to find the solution on Google. You're going to search for it on Google, and you're going to search for the specific thing. You're going to implement that thing, and you're going to move on. You're going to struggle with the next thing. And that's going to be the repeat. You just repeat this until you have like a simple mechanic. And if you just follow this, you're going to learn so much quicker than basically everyone else. They don't watch a video like this. They aren't going to follow the struggle, build, repeat framework. They're just going to watch tutorials. They're just going to do the easiest thing. But you actually watch this video, you actually know how to learn. And even though it might be like hard for you because you actually need to think, you need to do something that's hard, it's going to be worth it because you're going to get the reward of having fully released games that you can publish. But I'm going to say you something very important. Even if you follow this struggle, build, repeat framework, there is still one thing that can ruin your entire game if you don't implement it well. But before we cover that one thing, I'm just going to quickly mention that Smartini is built upon these exact active learning principles that are science-backed and is what the 1% actually uses to release their first game, including me. It's built upon these principles that guarantee that you're going to learn because they are science-backed, and I've proven them myself. They're not just tutorials where you're just following along, you're making like the game I chose and then just telling you what buttons to click. Smartini is not about that. Smartini is the step-by-step framework where you go from having no coding experience at all, or stuck in tutorial hell, to finishing and releasing your first game. I'll walk you through everything, and I'll even beta test your game just before release, so the game is going to be actually good, and you're going to get feedback from an actual game developer and a gamer. I'm even so confident that you will release your game in only 60 days, that if you don't release within 60 days from joining, I will personally coach you for free until you release, because I'm so confident that you will. So if you want to guarantee your spot in the top 1% of game developers that actually release a game, then you can join Smartini with the first link below. Okay, so with that being said, here's the one thing that can actually ruin the game. I just had to fit this into this video because my first game, it took 5 months to make, but in reality, I could have done it in less than 2 months if I knew this one thing. So this is going to be very important. I just had to fit it into this video. And the one thing that could have made so that I could make my games like twice as quick, the first one, I didn't have effective planning in my first game. What I did was actually worse. I didn't plan at all. I just started the project, I just made something, and then I just expanded on it. That's a horrible way to make a game, and you're going to just waste so much time in the later stages of the game. Like sure, in the beginning you might save like a few hours on planning, but in the later stages, like the time you saved is just going to like get eaten up by all the time you have to like spend on these bad and unexpandable systems that you made in the beginning. Because the thing is, when you make a game without planning from the start, you're not going to design the core mechanics and the early systems in a game in a way that's actually expandable for you to expand on it in the future and actually implement new features into the game, which you obviously are going to want. And when you don't plan, you don't know what features you're going to implement. Like you might have them in your head, but that's something completely different. And in my second game, which was called Neon Surge 2, very creative, I know. In Neon Surge 2, I planned from the start and I made that game in, as I said, under 2 months. It's an even better game, and like 90% of the reason that I could actually finish it in just 2 months and make it better than the first one is that I planned effectively. And as I said in the start of the video, yes, my third game, Orbital Chaos, it was made in under 1 month, and I even released it on the App Store and on Google Play. And 80% of the reason for that is that I simply learned effective planning. So if you just want to have the entire process laid out step by step for you, and where I also go into detail about this effective planning that I talked about, then it's Smartini with the first link below. I'll walk you through everything. Basically what I said in this video, just a short summary of basically things that are inside of Smartini. So if you want to join with not even to mention like all the other bonuses that you have inside as well, then it's the first link below. If you want to release your first game, then Smartin is going to be totally worth it. With that being said, I just want to thank you so much for watching this video.